It is 1896. H.G. Wells is working on a disturbing and cautionary tale. The Island of Dr. Moreau is a dark vision of nature corrupted by amoral science. The story is about animal evolution manipulated and perverted by a madman. The idea is born when Wells is still a student, not long after Charles Darwin introduces his theory of natural selection.
He studied under T.H. Huxley, known as Darwin's bulldog, the great defender of the theory of evolution.
Wells comes of age at a time when our understanding of biology is expanding by operating on living animals, strapped down and sometimes awake. It is a morally controversial practice known as vivisection. Moreau is a disgraced physiologist who flees England for a remote island. In an operating room, Moreau vivisects animals in an effort to make them more human, shocking his detractors. The scientist is adamant that his work is advancing science. But the results are monstrous. A dog man crafted from a Saint Bernard, and a hybrid of a hyena and a pig that can talk.
In The Island of Dr. Moreau, H.G. Wells modifies animals to give them the Promethean gift of intelligence. But he assumes, as Pierre Boulez does in Planet of the Apes, that we'll do it badly, that we'll oppress and enslave these creatures instead of making them fellow citizens. He does this in order to do the cautionary tale.
The Island of Dr. Moreau is Wells' scientific take on the ancient myth of chimeras, human-animal hybrids. Today, chimeras are myth no longer. Dr. Ismail Zanjani is hard at work in his University of Nevada lab, creating humanized sheep.
When we first observed the humanization of some of these organs, it was really like science fiction to us.
Zanjani's goal is to create sheep with organs suitable for transplant into humans. To induce this humanization, Zanjani injects human stem cells into an unborn sheep fetus. The human cells gestate, and the lamb is born with organs partially comprised of human cells.
We found almost every tissue we looked at was partially humanized. By increasing the dose of stem cells we put in and the number of times we injected the fetus, we were able to get increased amounts of donor human cells into these organs. We feel that we can actually increase the levels to about 26, 27, maybe 30%.
On the surface, Zanjani's chimeras look like regular sheep.
This is the experimental farm facility where we keep our sheep. These animals have large areas to walk around and pasture and enjoy themselves.
But biological tests reveal the animal's true chimeric nature.
What you see here are groups of animals that were transplanted in utero with human stem cells. After birth, we look at these animals to make sure that they are chimeric. If you notice on the back of each animal, you can see a site where we've taken bone marrow cells to determine whether human blood cells exist.
In some experiments, a sheep's brain is partially humanized, which leads to the question Zanjani has asked most. Do human cells cause these sheep to act like humans?
In the science fiction part of The Island of Moreau, it seems that the animals have transformed. Whereas actually in these studies, there is no change in the overall behavior of these animals. They remain sheep for the life of the animal.
Zanjani hopes to eventually use a patient's actual stem cells to custom grow humanized organs inside sheep. The theory is that these organs will be less likely to be rejected after transplant.
Even before birth, these animals have livers that are ready for possible transplant. The question is whether these organs can be useful in a clinical setting and you start treating patients with different needs.
Zanjani is aware of the ethical complexities of his work.
Generally, if a scientist can do something like this, should they go ahead and do it? I think these issues have to be addressed at some point by the society as a whole.
It's possible that Wells would agree.
Wells often dramatized the bad choices in order to encourage people to realize that they do indeed have choices about how they will use this new scientific knowledge. He never wanted to discourage research, but he always wanted to know to what end.
The science in the island of Dr. Moreau is shockingly prescient. But on the eve of World War I, Wells' bleak vision of scientific advancement misused manifests in the most terrifying prediction in human history.
Wells was the first to take the apocalyptic notion that human beings might bring about their own destruction, and we might do it with our own darn tools.